Hello. This is a bike perspective. This is a fairly long video with commentary, and it's a video showing my trip from Research Park to downtown, and then just a little bit into North Huntsville because I was going to Etoile Patisserie. And actually this was on sometime in May. I went there for bike to work day, but instead of going to work I went to get a baguette. So and some of this footage actually is from the trip that I made from Research Park to downtown for the mayor's bike ride. So it is a combination of two footages, but the road is basically the same. I basically have to take Bradford and Holmes Avenue to get to downtown, and then from there go on some small roads. Anyways, it was new to me to get to Etoile Patisserie, and since this is it's about an hour long, so that was how long it basically takes round trip. Going to there was about 30 minutes, coming back 30 minutes, so you get to see basically almost the whole ride. And since it's a pretty long video, I don't know how, maybe I'll talk about some other things about biking that I've noticed, as well as things on the footage as well. So sit back and enjoy exploring Huntsville by bike with me. So maybe I'll start off with how I prepare my bike routes. It's fairly easy. I just really use Google Maps and do my to and from destination, check the little bike icon and see what route it takes me. But since I'm unfamiliar with these roads, I also check out the Google Street View option to be able to sort of see what kind of road I'm dealing with. Is it going to be 2 lanes? Is it going to be 1 lane, narrow? What's the speed? Well, actually, I can't tell the speed. Oh, sometimes there's signs on the Street View, and I'll be able to see the speed limits. But again, since that's typically what I do, use Google Maps and Google Street View. But then, being new to biking in Huntsville, I found the interactive Huntsville GIS map, which is linked below. And then that has an overlay of all the bike routes that Huntsville has. I don't know all of the bike routes, but I'll use them to compare it with Google Maps, and so I think I would be on some of the slower moving roads if I look at the bike routes, but again, that's my secondary map to use. And what's nice also about the interactive map is that it has the speed limits layer option. So I'll use that to as an overlay on the map and check out what kind of speeds the road might be. So again, I first start with Google Maps, then the interactive Huntsville map. Then, on top of all of that, because I'm so new to biking in Huntsville, I learned about using Strava heat maps. A lot of recreational cyclists, I think, use Strava. I had never used it before, but they have this nice heat map option where you can kind of see what kind of streets seem to have a lot of riders. Maybe it's not even the amount of people, but you can tell at least that people are using the app on these roads, probably biking. So with those three things, that's how I kind of feel like, okay, maybe I should try that route. And I found, like I said, I start with Google Maps, but I have found smaller roads that wasn't recommended by Google on the interactive map bike route option, and also some of the Strava heat maps. There were tiny roads that I saw that it seems like people were biking on them, so I use that too to determine kind of what kind of bike route I'll take. That's kind of how I found out that people were biking through that parking lot near Mid-City. Oh, okay. Okay, so it looks like we've made it to first freeze frame. I just wanted to point out that on some of the intersections, you might see this little biker guy as a pavement marking. So I've learned that if you place your bike there, and I think if the underside of your bike that's metal is just over that, directly over it, it should help change the traffic light for you when you're on your bike. I've also learned that with these loop signal things on the road, maybe if you put your bike directly on the center line, and especially if it's metal, then like where this bike pavement marking guy is at, you will be able to change the traffic light on your bike. Yeah, that's a really nice feature to know where you put your bike when you're at these intersections. I've had a couple of intersections where the light doesn't change until a car comes up behind me, and so maybe if you see these little loop things, try putting your bike in the middle. Maybe it's on the side. Just have to have your bike parallel directly on the loop sensor. So anyways, I guess continuing on with the bike ride. Looks like we just passed another orbit bus. Cool. It's kind of good to know that a lot of the transit bus routes should align with the bike routes on the road. I talked about it briefly in my previous commentary video. Anyways, that's pretty cool to see. And I've also seen that people, that they have bike storage on these buses. So I've not used the Orbit bus, but I've seen bikes on the buses. So that's pretty cool that they can hold your bus or your bike if you need to take the bus. So while I'm on Holmes Avenue and I'm approaching Jordan Lane, the Jordan Lane, I guess, intersection, something that I didn't notice at first when I was riding was that I could get into the right lane. So initially I had stayed in this go straight only lane, but then in the right lane, if you get into the right lane, you can go straight or take a right turn. But what was nice about knowing this was that there was that bike road pavement at this intersection, and so then I would put my bike over that pavement marking, and when I crossed the intersection I was in the rightmost lane and could stay there for a little bit and let some cars pass by me before going up that hill on Holmes Avenue. And before the road begins to narrow at the top of the hill, yes, so it was nice to be further in the right lane. And even though I bike a lot, this hill really stinks. It's still tough. If you use an e-bike, I wish I had one. Yeah, good for you, because I really wish I had an e-bike going up this hill, and especially on the way back. Yes, so as you can see, I'll take the road going up this hill. I definitely am going slower. So much slower. What's great about, I guess, almost every uphill is that there is a downhill. And so it's pretty nice going downhill on Holmes Avenue. As you can see, I'll switch over to the next lane. for a little bit. So something that I want to show from this video was something I learned from one of my bike commuter friends. Well, when I switch over to the next lane, any lane, I actually started doing something that he did, which was point to that lane. So you'll see that he'll point to the lane, look, and then change over. You know, you learn the left turn, the right turn, and then the stop hand signals. But, you know, we're not really making a turn. We're actually just switching over lanes. So I kind of think the pointing to the next lane is a pretty cool, good hand signal to let cars know, hey, I'm going to go in the next lane. And looks like we've switched over to the footage where I am actually going to Etoile Patisserie. And it was a much sunnier day, a much hotter day as well. Anyways, it was pretty nice with the sun. Really good day to be on your bike. So I think that the footage here, well, I don't really have too much to say, so just enjoy the music and the sunny day and the ride with me. So on Meridian Street, I'm excited to be approaching a bike lane. Yay! One thing I'll note here is that it looks like cars can park right next to the bike lane. And something that you might want to try to avoid is getting hit by a car door when cars are parked there. It's a common occurrence. Basically, you're getting doored. And it's happened to me twice. Both times in Chicago, though. The first time it happened, it was a very scary situation. I remember that, I was passing these parked cars, and then all of a sudden, a door opened right in front of me, and it was so quick that I just couldn't avoid it. And when it happened, I remember when I was falling off my bike that I needed to get off the road as quickly as possible because there were still cars passing me on the left side. So, like I said, scary situation. I had to, once I fell off the bike after getting doored, I got up, sprinted to the sidewalk. And so a couple of ways that might help to avoid the situation is that if there's a row of parked cars, you might want to bike slower. You might want to like something that I like to do is just bike further to the left side of the bike lane, so that even if a car door opens up, you might be able to avoid the car door zone. And I'll also look maybe in the mirrors of each car, and if I can, and just kind of anticipate that someone's in there, and then they might open up the car door. And this situation, getting doored, can happen not only when you're in a bike lane, just being aware that this can happen anytime that cars are parked in the street. And also, and just in general, trying to avoid getting in the car door zone. So we've made it to our destination, Etoile Patisserie, and all I have to do now is park my bike, which I ended up parking at this City of Huntsville bike post. And it looks like we're back, going now to Research Park. At this intersection, going from Pratt to Holmes, with also Andrew Jackson Way, all in one intersection, it was a little confusing. Luckily, I chose the correct right turn to go from Pratt to Holmes. And even if I made the wrong turn, I don't sweat it too much. I just kind of bike slower, slow down, and find a place that I can just get off the road and look on the map again. That intersection really reminds me of one in Chicago where it was in Wicker Park and there was 3 different roads that also intersected. I think I really tried to avoid that intersection a lot. And maybe sometimes I would just get off my bike and then become a pedestrian and use the crosswalks. Anyways, that was just interesting to find on the first time riding on that road and experiencing that. Yeah, I think that along this road there were a lot of parked cars on the street, so I rode a little bit further to the left to just make sure if the door did swing open that I wouldn't be in the getting hit zone. And I really thought this part of the ride was so pretty, with some of the buildings and the trees, and I think to the left there is a parking garage. It looks like there's bike parking on the outside, and in that parking garage there's also bike parking inside the garage, which I find is very cool. I think it's called Greene Street parking garage. It has bike racks inside, so that's really nice. Your bike can be covered. Yeah, this whole street was really pretty. You'll see that I'll get into the left lane. Well, I've biked on this part of Holmes a couple of times and finally started realizing that that right lane becomes a right turn only after this light. So for myself, I like to get into the lane that I need to be in further up or earlier. So yeah, what I would, like I said, this took me a couple of times to realize that the lane ended, that right lane, became a right turn. And so, like I did, I looked before changing lanes and then pointed at the lane I needed to be on and then moved over. Every time I'm biking on Holmes Avenue and I see the hill from a distance, I just get already tired. Just knowing that that's what's ahead of me. I'm getting tired right now just thinking about it. And one thing I noticed was on Strava, seems like people can time themselves getting through certain sections on the road. And some of these times that I've seen, I'm like, wow, how do you do it? Yeah, those times are like, I don't know, they're just so fast and I'm nowhere close to them. And I'm just, it's just something maybe I can strive for in the future on an electric bike or something. Yes, so anyways, I think I'm going even slower than normal because it was hot and midday and I'm carrying a baguette and some other sweets in my bag right now. And now we're approaching Bradford Drive and getting into the bike lane. You'll notice up here that this red truck passes me pretty closely. So just something to be aware of, that even if you're in a bike lane, a car might still be past you pretty close to you, even if you're in the bike lane. Something that I kind of wish then on this bike lane is having that buffered pavement marking that we saw on Meridian Street. You know, just to have a little space between the car and the bike lane. That would be interesting to have on around here too. But yes, even in the bike lane, sometimes you might come across gravel on the road, which you'll see up ahead. That one of the things that I did to avoid it was end up getting out of the bike lane. Again, just looking over my shoulder in the left, in the next lane to my left, signaling and moving out of the bike lane. And in this section on Bradford Drive, there are people on Strava who also have incredible times on it. Again, I don't know how they do it. I had to go uphill and more uphills and then a downhill. But anyways, they go pretty fast on through this road. I'm not. Yes, so going over the overpass section of Bradford Drive, you'll see that the lanes sort of split off into more lanes. And at this point, you can't really tell which lane is which. And I do remember that I need to take a left turn, and I couldn't remember if it was 1 or 2 lanes over. Anyways, you'll see that, I'm at this section, I'm letting a few cars pass me in order to make sure it's clear to get into the next lane to my left. And again, I'm going pretty slow, so yeah, I'm letting these cars pass, and I actually ended up going over 2 lanes. And while I was waiting, that yellow truck was behind me. But it isn't until this point here that I could see which lanes were the left turn lanes, and then I actually ended up getting into the lane I wanted to be in. So after this ride, I do remember that it's only, for me, only one lane over to get into the left turn lane that I needed to be on. Anyways, it's just being aware of which lane that you want to be in and trying to get into that lane ahead of time. I hope that you keep biking and enjoy the ride, and maybe I'll see you on the road next time.